There are literally only two sides to this debate. You got person A, did you say dub? As a true anime fan, I only watch the sub. Japanese voice acting is a refined art that must be appreciated, and any other language is an insult to the medium. And you have to watch it in the original intended language. Dub is just for people who can't read. And you have person B. Bro, what? You said sub? Bro, nah, man. I'm not gonna sit there and read subtitles all day, bro. You don't even speak Japanese, bro. That's just so dumb. Watch it in your own language. I'm gonna enjoy the actual show and the animation, bro, not the stupid text all day. If I want to read, I'm gonna read a book, bro. I'm not gonna watch a show. Now, I know what you're thinking. The year is 2025. People still have dub versus sub wars. Let me just start off with saying that Japanese is not an inherently better language, or just a better language for voice acting in general. Japanese is a better language for voice acting in anime. You can kind of see it in both versions, dub and sub. A lot of scenes you're watching naturally make you cringe like crazy, whether you're watching in English or Japanese. I was really young when I was watching Fairy Tail, right? And back then I watched it in English. Literally everything Natsu was saying back then had me tweaking out on just pure corniness and cringe. And I definitely think I would have felt the same way if I was watching it in Japanese, because the actual dialogue itself was corny. However, watching it in your own language just makes you feel it way more. And that's the result of the medium itself for like 95% of the shows you can find out there. Characters usually tend to be way more expressive and over the top, which is just not normal or seen in everyday life. Then hearing it in your own language instead of a language you don't understand allows the corny to reach you so much easier. It's not that Japanese voice acting with all their schools and training are what's doing the heavy lifting. They do help, believe me, they're producing some insane talent out there, but there are other factors at play. Take a look at this scene right here. This scene is cringe as shit, regardless of the language, but as a native English speaker, I really feel it. Although they really are trying and putting in their best effort, there's just no way to make this scene watchable. Here, look at another example.
Mr. Rengoku is stronger than you'll ever hope to be! Much stronger! You didn't win against him!
But honestly, despite what I said about Japanese voice acting not being inherently better, a lot of dubs are just horrendous. Like, they're so bad it feels genuinely disrespectful. A lot of English dubbing for anime just isn't good. Here, listen to the dub and sub version of these clips. Tell me which one you feel is amplifying the experience, and tell me which one you feel is genuinely disrespecting you. So I watched this show in Japanese, right? When I got the idea to see how this scene went down in dub, just out of curiosity, I was baffled. Bro, listen to this. There aren't any lines being said, but the emotion being expressed is just leagues ahead. You know, I would even say leagues ahead. I don't even know if the English one can actually even be in the conversation. And it's not like English speakers can't voice act. It just seems that they can't voice act in anime. So that got me curious, and I decided to look more into it. And it turns out that one of the reasons certain dubs could sound so bad is that they are sometimes reviewed by Japanese staff first, and they can have varying amounts of input, and they can sway a performance to their liking. Not all dubs have this, and it might even be a minority. Nor am I saying it's the cause for this scene specifically, but it's something to think about. Wait, hear me out. What if the Japanese staff is having the same feeling where they don't understand English like that, so the corniness also isn't reaching them as easily? Yo, low-key, like, I could have something going on here. You also gotta account for the fact that the languages are very different. That causes natural inconsistencies in translation, on top of having to match character mouth movements, and way more. Another big one is that most dub performers don't usually voice act together with their colleagues in a studio, which would really allow them to get into character, versus Japanese performers who actually do. However, it is still possible for an English dub to be good. You know, I know it's crazy, right? It literally sounds impossible, but it's true. And I hold this opinion very closely that if an English dub is good, it's better than any sub. Starting off with an inverse to the Gintama scene I showed you guys earlier. The grunt or whatever it's called sounded just straight up goofy in the Japanese, but it was actually really good in the English. But for a more detailed example, Great Pretender. Great Pretender is a show that goes beyond the voicing aspect. It firstly emphasizes that characters have a language barrier and they can't speak to each other that well. And in the first 10 minutes, the dub version is actually in sub, and when characters try to speak to each other in English, you can hear their broken accent.
How'd you take my wallet?
What are you talking about? Weren't you the one who told me it was my wallet?
But after those 10 minutes, they let you know that they're going to be abandoning this concept for convenience sake. Besides that though, the characters speak in this way that just like, how do I describe it? It's just normal. They speak normally, no exaggerating or overdoing their lines, just normal, natural speech. The attention to detail is also pretty nice. Whenever the characters are in a foreign country, the people there will still speak fluent English for convenience sake, but they'll have an accent. British people have a British accent.
What a lovely surprise, he speaks English.
French people have a French accent.
Well, basically this. We are closing this place and then we are moving away.
Japanese people have a Japanese accent,
I never asked for your opinion.
and so on. It adds another layer of life that you just won't find in the sub version. This isn't an only example though. You have some of the older shows that also had pretty good dubs, like Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and even Yu Yu Hakusho played around with the whole characters having accents concept.
I never did like that guy. The wind around his pores was pretty stinky. Actually, I'm kind of glad you waxed him.
Don't go on confusing me with big words. Just get me a fighter.
There are some other pretty nice dubs out there, like the ones that I have shown on screen right here, but I just wanted to highlight the ones that I really liked. Another example that came out recently would be Chainsaw Man. I believe the dub is for sure better than the sub. For some direct comparisons, Kishibe matches way better in English. Although I do like Kenjiro Tsuda, you can't just put him everywhere. Studios are treating him like a cheat code.
I'm a public safety hunter from Special Division 1. You get a real kick out of being called.
生と呼んでくれ。好きなのは酒と女と悪魔を殺すことだ。
I believe the raspiness in the English just matches way better. It's amazing. Although Makima does have that slightly unnatural way of speaking, I think her voice not being as high pitched as the sub just matches her overall vibe way more. Now power is basically the same across both versions, but I'm biased so I like her dub version way more. Some Denji scenes just felt more relatable and real.
デンジ、お前も好きだったろ。
何のつもりだ、てめえ。
Alright, the fuck do you want?
And a lot of the other voices are honestly kind of the same across both versions, like Himeno, Kobeni, Aki, Fox Devil, but once again, I'm biased, I'm going for the dub. No, I just don't know what it is with English directors or whatever the position responsible for the voices is called, but why are they trying to replicate the same voicing styles and habits from the Japanese versions into the English version? You know what I mean? For example, you know how sometimes when something major happens and the show then cuts to each character one at a time, and they all react with some non-verbal noise like this? Like, my guy, you don't have to recreate that in the English version. Just keep it silent. Just don't voice over it. The characters usually have their mouths animated in a still position anyway. Like, you can get away with it. You're good. You don't gotta bring that stuff over here. Just keep it over there, bro. And whoever's doing the translations, please stop trying to bring the honorifics into the English dub. Even if it's not directly, like, they don't straight up say Chan or San or whatever. Even though they sometimes do, they always unnaturally overuse the words Miss, Mr, or Sensei. And I know English speakers use Mr. and Miss, but nowhere near the rate they use it in anime. It's too much. Oh, and please, you don't have to replicate the high-pitched female voices. Please, like, you really don't have to. Just have them talk normally in their normal natural voice, and they don't need that breathy tone. We don't need those over-the-top reactions and sound effects from the voice actresses either, okay? I mean, like, unless the Japanese producers are forcing them to do it, I guess, but like, just please try to incorporate normal and natural sounding speech, and more people will stop hating on dub. If directors and performers voiced characters with normal speech instead of voicing them with the mindset that it's an anime, these issues would basically just vanish. You can literally see the evidence of this. There are tons of other non-anime media that have phenomenal voicing. One example out of many that I would like to give in terms of English produced and voiced media would be the Black Ops series. I'm gonna play you some scenes of dialogue and tell me if you think the voice actors are delivering the scene well or horribly. In here, the person being interrogated is in distress and confusion from the interrogation and brainwashing.
You spent the next 5 years trying to track him down.
He was everywhere. I couldn't get him out of my head. He's just like the others.
And here, the interrogator is frustrated for not being able to get his answers.
Forget British now. Focus, Mason. We're out of fucking time. The world is on the fucking brink of war.
In here, he's explaining to someone who's criticizing him the traumatic events that led him to anger and rash thinking.
When I watched my team die, then he dumped us in a tin can and locked the door. Left me in there for weeks. So yeah, next time I saw Menendez, I lost my shit. What the fuck would you do?
In here, the character is filled with rage and is executing someone who betrayed him.
You betrayed us, Farid. And for what?
These are all moments and pieces of dialogue that, if voiced in the context of an anime, would make people cringe. These are all scenes where characters are being very expressive, loud, over the top, but at the right moments, and they're being voiced in a way where the performer just sounds natural. Even in scenes where they're talking normally and not yelling at each other, you can feel the realness.
The sound of his violin filled the air with magnificent music. Korsakov, Stasov. To my countrymen, it was a symbol of hope. To the Germans, it was a symbol of defiance. Even now, his music still haunts me.
This specific scene, the character is giving a speech about his past. The voice actor, Gary Oldman, isn't even Russian. He's from London, and I'm not even sure if that's a proper Russian accent, but it still sounds amazing. The lore he's dropping just hits way harder due to the sadness and nostalgia in his voice. And you might notice that he's a high-tier actor, but not every performer here is famous and acclaimed, like Sam Worthington, James C. Burns, Ed Harris, and Camar de los Reyes. This game isn't the only example. Think of any other games, shows, movies you've tried out and just think about it. Some off the top of my head would be Arcane, Slay the Princess, Red Dead Redemption 2, Spider-Verse, God of War. The evidence that English voicing can be good is there. It's just not at its fullest potential yet for anime. And since it's not at its fullest potential yet, it's holding back a lot of the viewing experience. And seeing how good voicing is in other media and how it affects enjoyment, I really wish people who only watch in their own language would give other dubs a try. Yeah, dub-only watchers just refuse to read. Hearing some dubs out there actually hurt, and I wish people would at least attempt subs, even if it was only for one show. Back then, if the website I was watching anime on for some reason didn't have the next episode in English, I would panic and search the internet tirelessly, other sites, YouTube, all that, just to find the English version. I couldn't handle the fact that the next episode would be in sub, but it wasn't that serious. Most of the reason why is because I would be so used to the English voices for the past 200 episodes, but it's doable. It was only one episode, and the rest after it would go back to English. You don't have to treat it like the plague like I did back then. No, I guess some people can't keep up, and that's not an insult. It's normal for people to have trouble reading or just be naturally worse at it. It's understandable and that's fine. But if you do have the capability, you should definitely try checking out something in sub first before defaulting straight to the dub. I know the transition is hard, especially after many years, but just try getting used to it. You might find that some scenes just get better with different and sometimes even better voice acting. Another big reason is that not everything gets dubbed. Even Gintama, which I showed you earlier, doesn't have the entirety of it dubbed. It's missing some episodes. You'll also find that even in other forms of foreign media, even though they offer English dubbing, the original performance just feels better. Sekiro's Japanese, the Korean and Silenced. In Narcos, you have to listen to Pablo and other characters speak in Spanish, and guess what? You have to read it, and it's low-key fire. It adds life and flair. The whole dub and sub discourse transcends just anime. And the inverse goes for sub watchers who just refuse to dabble in English. I mean, the way I go about it is like this. I spot a show that looks interesting, and I want to watch it, right? Whether it be Japanese anime or any foreign live action. I start it up in English and switch between Japanese and English throughout the episode. If I'm liking the English, I'll stick with it. But if I find that it's unwatchable or the Japanese just destroys it, I'll stick with the Japanese. Now, I know it's not the most convenient method, and nobody wants to do all that. But people should at least find their own method and try to experience both, regardless of if they're a dub pleb or a sub elitist. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and also please let me know what you agree with and disagree with in the comments.